greenhouse. Next to the greenhouse.
I have a caller on the line who believes that there is a deceased male hanging.
35 West Main. Okay. So if you're coming down from Upton, is he on the right side of the road or the left?
The right side.
The right side.
From a tree there.
Okay, we're on our way.
In April 2021, a young girl was found dead in a quiet Massachusetts town, and her death quickly became the focus of a nationwide controversy. Her family believed the truth was far darker. As they fought for answers, the case grew more mysterious, with hidden details and unanswered questions about her final hours. What really happened, and why does the truth seem so elusive? Let's get into the horror details. Michaela Miller was born in 1994. She grew up in a community that she described as tight-knit, but like many teenagers, she faced her own challenges as she navigated the complexities of adolescence. Michaela was known for her vibrant and warm personality, always finding a way to connect with others despite the challenges she faced. She had a strong passion for volleyball and was described as an athletic and bright young woman with big dreams for her future. Michaela's family was central to her life, and her mother, named Calvina Struthers, was especially close to her. They had a bond that many people admired, with Michaela often looking to her mother for support and guidance. Michaela's friends and family described her as kind-hearted, someone who had a natural ability to make people feel comfortable and appreciated. While Michaela seemed to be on a positive path, her life was not without struggles. She faced typical teenage pressures, but in recent years Michaela had been confronting difficult emotions tied to her identity and the challenges that came with being a black queer teenager. The Hopkinton community, known for its suburban charm, was not always perceived as inclusive, and Michaela sometimes found herself grappling with the weight of societal expectations. However, she always found solace in her friends, family, and her passions, like sports and art, which allowed her to express herself.
Michaela Miller, as many of you may have seen, was a beautiful child. She was a cherished daughter, a gifted student, a talented athlete, and a loyal friend. Michaela's death is an unspeakable tragedy.
Michaela attended Hopkinton High School, where she was an active student, participating in extracurricular activities. Despite being in a small and somewhat homogeneous community, Michaela was respected by her peers for her ability to stand her ground and speak out about issues important to her, especially issues related to race and LGBTQ+ rights. She was becoming a young woman with a voice, determined to shape the world around her. In the months leading up to her death, Michaela's life seemed to take a turn as she started facing challenges involving her personal relationships and social dynamics. One of the most significant events in her final days was an altercation with a group of peers, which reportedly involved harassment and bullying. These incidents were important as they were later linked to the suspicion that Michaela's death was not simply a suicide, but may have been connected to external pressures, possibly stemming from that encounter. The story of Michaela Miller's death is a tragic tale of loss, suspicion, and the search for justice. So what happened to Michaela Miller?
What do you expect? What's happening here?
So we actually expect to come out and remember Michaela and understand her life and really demand the questions that people have been asking. We're still asking for an independent investigator, work with the family, the friends, and of course remember her in a very kind way.
On the morning of April 18, 2021, Michaela's lifeless body was discovered near her home in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, not far from 35 West Main Street. A passerby who stumbled upon the body immediately called 911. The dispatcher was quick to respond, telling the man that police and firefighters were on their way. The body was found near a greenhouse not far from the street, an area that would become infamous in the months to follow. When the first responders arrived, they found Michaela's body hanging. The death certificate later released by the Massachusetts State Medical Examiner's Office stated that the cause of death was asphyxiation by hanging and ruled the manner of death a suicide. The teen had reportedly used a belt to tie around her neck, but the discovery raised immediate suspicions. Michaela's family, particularly her mother Calvina Struthers, did not believe this conclusion.
Now, just yesterday, the DA gave an update on the case, saying that Miller was found dead by a jogger in a wooded area off of West Main Street back on April 18th. The DA says she got into a fight with a group of teens the evening before her death. Miller's mom insists that her daughter was murdered.
Calvina Strothers had a strong, unwavering belief that her daughter had not taken her own life. At a press conference soon after the release of the death certificate, Strothers publicly rejected the suicide ruling. She told reporters, "I do not believe that my daughter committed suicide. That's nothing I'm willing to entertain." Her voice, filled with grief and disbelief, resonated with the growing number of people who believed there was more to Michaela's death than the official story suggested. Strothers was joined at the news conference by nationally recognized civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who had represented families in high-profile cases involving police violence. He was accompanied by David Johns, Executive Director of the National Black Justice Coalition, and Monica Cannon Grant, CEO of Violence in Boston, Inc., among others. The group stood in solidarity with Strothers, asserting that Michaela's death was not a suicide, but a murder.
But this poor young lady lost her life, and I think regardless of how her life was taken, because we don't know, what matters is that the people that are hurt and angry know that Hopkinton cares and that her life did matter.
The investigators' conclusion didn't sit well with the family. There were several inconsistencies in the evidence that raised red flags. According to those who had seen the scene and questioned the details, Michaela was not hanging from a tree, as one would expect in a suicide by hanging. Instead, Michaela's body was found standing, suggesting that she had not been suspended in a traditional hanging. This detail alone cast doubt on the official ruling. Additionally, the tree she was allegedly hanging from seemed neither tall enough nor strong enough for a person to be able to use it for suicide. Furthermore, the belt wrapped around Michaela's neck did not belong to her or her mother. Both Calvina Strothers and the activists backing the family noted that Michaela would not have worn a belt with the tracksuit she was dressed in at the time of her death. The belt was something that neither she nor her family recognized. These details, along with the manner in which her body was found, led many to conclude that Michaela had not committed suicide.
Take your time.
We did everything. We went to Point Sebago every summer. We do water sports, barbecues, and ventured out into different parts of Maine.
The family's suspicions grew stronger when it was revealed that Michaela had been assaulted just the day before her death. On April 17, 2021, Michaela was allegedly jumped by 5 teenagers, including 2 who were connected to Hopkinton police officers. The assault left Michaela injured and emotionally shaken. Her mother claimed that the authorities had been trying to downplay this important detail. Activist Monica Cannon Grant publicly criticized the Hopkinton Police Department for hiding the information about the assault.
It is beaming and shining and warming us up just like Michaela Miller did in her 16 short years. And we're here to support this family, and I'd ask that you say her name, Michaela Miller. Say her name.
Cannon Grant, in her statements, claimed that Michaela's assault was linked to the power dynamics within the police department, especially since 2 of the teens involved were relatives of officers. She argued that the local authorities were actively suppressing information about the incident and that District Attorney Marion Ryan was not handling the case properly. This led to further frustration and distrust in the local law enforcement's investigation into Michaela's death.
Michaela leaves the house. Her location was shared via her Snapchat with these same individuals, and she ends up dead, right? Now, the frustration is this. If Michaela was a white child, and this was 5 Black children that engaged in this activity, not only would they have been charged for an assault.
As the pressure mounted, the Hopkinton Police Department was forced to release certain records related to the case. On the day of the press conference, Police Chief Joseph Bennett made a public statement about the department's handling of the case. In his statement, Bennett emphasized the department's commitment to transparency and defended the investigation. He He released several records, including the 911 call made by the passerby who discovered Michaela's body, along with police and fire department radio transmissions and a police cruiser dashcam video.
Make no mistake, there is no truth to the allegation that we have reached a final conclusion. I will repeat that. There should be no mistake that any comments that we have reached conclusions in this case.
However, many believed that the release of these records was only a response to growing pressure, rather than a genuine move toward transparency. Some key details, particularly about the assault on Michaela and the investigation into her death, were withheld from the public. While Bennett stated that the officers had responded promptly and professionally to the incident, activists and Michaela's family felt that the investigation was being handled with undue bias. One of the main concerns raised by Michaela's family was that the police department had failed to take them seriously. Calvina Struthers claimed that police officers told her not to speak publicly about the case, warning her that doing so would bring attention to her daughter's sexuality. This raised alarm bells for the family, as they believed the authorities were attempting to suppress important details to protect certain individuals involved in the case.
We went to Point Sebago every summer. We do water sports, barbecues, and ventured out into different parts of Maine. We went to Trinidad together for 7 days when Michaela was 10. Her dad was from Trinidad. The plan was to go back again. We went to Point de Spain.
In response, Benjamin Crump voiced concerns about the lack of accountability, calling the death of Michaela Miller highly suspicious. He demanded that local authorities conduct a more thorough and transparent investigation into what he believed was a possible murder disguised as a suicide. Crump publicly questioned why the police had been so quick to label the death a suicide when there were so many inconsistencies in the evidence. This set the stage for an ongoing battle between the authorities and those who believed Michaela's death was part of a larger, more complex story, one involving violence, cover-ups, and systemic injustice. During this turmoil, the local and national media played an important role in shaping public opinion about Michaela's death. Tito Jackson, a former member of the Boston City Council, also joined the fight for justice. He accused the district attorney's office of weaponizing information by leaking it to the media rather than communicating directly with Michaela's family. This leak of information, Jackson argued, had turned the case into a media circus, which only further complicated the efforts to find the truth. Despite these challenges, Michaela's supporters persisted. They believed that the truth needed to be revealed and that Michaela's death should not be buried under a veil of secrecy. Her family and the activists who rallied behind them made it clear that they would not rest until they had answers. They were adamant that Michaela's case had been mishandled and that the official story simply did not match the reality of the situation.
Where a rally and vigil is underway for Michaela Miller, a 16-year-old girl who was found in the woods last month. Organizers are calling for justice and demanding information from the district attorney about the circumstances of Miller's death.
Calvina Struthers, a mother in mourning, continued to press for justice, despite the emotional and psychological toll the case took on her. She emphasized in interviews that she wanted only the truth and would not rest until she got it. She also spoke about the profound emotional impact that Michaela's death had on their family. Struthers described her daughter as kind-hearted and someone who had a kind soul, someone who would never commit such a drastic act. This description contrasted sharply with the official portrayal of Michaela's death as a suicide. At the heart of Struthers' struggle was the belief that the authorities had prematurely closed the case without fully exploring all avenues of investigation. Her repeated requests for more information were largely ignored, leading her to accuse law enforcement of deliberate obfuscation.
The police reports from both the events from the night before during the altercation between Michaela and kids, as well as the police report when she was found the morning of April 18th, which they denied me of. Return of all of Michaela's items back.
While the official ruling of suicide remained in place, the investigation into Michaela's death was far from over. District Attorney Marion Ryan confirmed that the investigation was still active and ongoing and assured the public that every angle would be explored. However, many felt that the investigation was proceeding at a slow pace and lacked the urgency it deserved. There were still unanswered questions, and the local authorities had yet to fully address the concerns raised by Michaela's family and supporters.
I understand that you certainly would want to know immediately exactly what would have happened in your child's last moment. And it is a great disappointment always that we cannot.
Despite the many doubts surrounding Michaela's death, one thing was clear. Her family was not willing to give up their fight for justice. They believed that Michaela's death had been an act of violence, not a suicide, and they would continue to challenge the official narrative until the truth was revealed. The death of Michaela Miller shook her community, raising questions about justice, race, and police transparency. Her family and supporters believed more was being hidden, pointing to possible bias and missing evidence. For them, this was not just about loss, it was about truth. As the investigation dragged on, her loved ones stayed determined, refusing to let her case fade. They would continue to press for justice, hoping that one day the real story of what happened to Michaela would finally come to light.